Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Virtual Sunday School. Well, for this one, we have traveled all the way to Kalamata, Greece, and I'm standing in one of their vineyards. So you're probably wondering, A, what am I doing in Greece? That's an easy one. And B, what am I doing in a vineyard? Well, today we're going to be talking about Jesus' parable of the workers in the vineyard. And for many, this is a very difficult parable to understand because it seems so unfair. So why is this so unfair? Well, let's look at the story. There was an owner of a vineyard and he needed some work to be done on a particular day. So he goes into the village and he finds a worker and he says,
I will pay you 1 denarii, that's a couple of bucks, if you will work in my vineyard all day.
Guy says, sure. So off he goes. Later on, he finds out that he needs more people. He goes back into the village. He finds a couple of people standing around and he says,
I'd like to have you also join me for the work and I'll pay you 1 denarii.
So this goes on literally until the last hour of work. And he calls another person in and he says,
I want you to work in my vineyard also and I'll pay you a denarii.
So at the end of the day, the owner of the vineyard calls all the workers together to pay them. And he pays the last one first and then goes backwards until the first one. And everybody gets paid this 1 denarii. Well, the guy at the end who worked like 10 hours is thinking to himself,
wait a minute now, I worked the whole 10 hours, I get 1 denarii. This other guy, he works 1 hour, he gets a denarii. That doesn't seem fair at all.
So what does the owner say?
Didn't you and I agree to work for 1 denarii?
The guy says, yes.
Isn't it my money and I can do with my money what I want?
And the guy says, yes. And so the owner says,
this is the deal that you made and this is the deal that you have to live with.
In the end, that doesn't seem really fair. I mean, here's a guy who works 10 hours and gets a couple of bucks. And then another guy who works barely an hour and he gets a couple of bucks. Now, not to mention that that's way below minimum wage. That doesn't seem to be fair at all. So, I mean, how would you like it if that happened to you? What would you be thinking? Hey, John, let me help you with that. We have done a great job. All right. Okay, boy, I'm getting paid for this. So this definitely doesn't seem fair. I mean, what is Jesus trying to teach us with this crazy story? That life is unfair and I'm going to work really hard, but then some freeloader who doesn't hardly do anything is going to get the same thing as me? Is that the lesson? No. The lesson that Jesus is trying to teach us is the vineyard is the world we live in. And the day working in there is our entire life. And then the laborers, those people who are working, they're each one of us. So some of us have lived a life in the church our whole lives, but there's others who will come into the church much later in life. But each one of us will receive the kingdom of heaven and salvation. So think about it this way. What if you had a good friend of yours and he really wasn't a churchgoer and he really didn't lead a good life, but then because the two of you were together, he finally kind of came around and now he joined the church and now he lived this life in God. Don't you want him also to go to heaven? Even though you struggled for a long time and he only struggled a little bit, shouldn't we all want our good friends to be with us in heaven? Even though your friend only came in at the last minute to be saved and get the kingdom of heaven, you've enjoyed an entire life that is full of gratitude and happiness. Think about it like a Thanksgiving Day dinner. So all the guests come in the beginning and they all eat off of this wonderful banquet. Now, those who come at the end, are they going to get fed? Of course they are. But there's not going to be all the beautiful and delicious food that was there in the beginning. So they're not going to get all that tasty food that you all had when you first got there. So in the spirit of Thanksgiving, we should all be grateful for those people who have finally found the church and God, regardless of whether they came in first or they came in last, because Jesus Christ is always joyful for everyone that comes to him, even if they are first or if they're last. So thanks everybody for watching, and whether you were first to our channel or last to our channel, we love you. So like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on our next episode.